Turner's heart started to beat faster, and his situational awareness became even more acute. Lear had just signaled him that something was wrong. But what was it? It appeared that the meeting had gone smoothly. It definitely hadn't been rushed. Surely Sari would have signaled trouble as soon as she entered the café, but the two had sat down like old friends. Had Lear seen something after the meeting? He put his hand inside his coat and felt the handle of his 9mm. He slid his fingers down the barrel and felt the silencer attached. The pockets were extra large to accommodate the handgun. At the same time, his eyes swiveled left and right, then up and across the rooftops. Nothing seemed out of place. He looked through the cafe window. Sari sat reading a paperback. She seemed in no hurry. His eyes met Lear's, and she turned left out of the cafe. This was the direction they had agreed upon if there was danger. He let her get a block ahead and then began to follow. In another block, he would cross the street and... There! A man wearing a driver's cap and carrying a shopping bag from an upscale clothing store entered the sidewalk from an alley. He took a little too much time searching the crowd of fellow shoppers until he spotted and began to follow Lear. Trouble. Turner kept his eyes on the man. After a few paces, the man made a second mistake and turned his head to the right, keeping it fixed for a moment in the direction of another man who was across the street. The second man was half a block ahead of Turner and walked with a smooth, confident stride. He had on a black overcoat with a scarlet scarf, and his mop of salt and pepper hair blew in the wind. Then, the second man veered off the sidewalk and entered a store. The other man continued to follow Lear. Turner saw his opportunity and crossed the street, cycling his eyes between Lear, the man following her, and the storefront where the second man had disappeared. As he passed the store, he did not see the man inside, but he only had a second to scan. There was no time to double-check, and he could not reveal himself by stopping and looking in the storefront window. He focused his attention solely on Lear. From a corner inside the store, the man with the overcoat and red scarf watched his fellow agent follow the woman. He waited an entire minute until they were far away down the sidewalk. He approached the window and scanned both sides of the street. Confident that he had not been seen or followed, he exited the store and headed back toward the café. Turner began to close the distance between himself and the man following Lear. Up ahead was an apartment complex, and if he could walk past both of them like he was in a hurry to get somewhere, then he could warn her. It was his only chance. He sped up. Lear saw the apartment complex looming 2 blocks away. Should she dart into the main office, take an elevator up, walk all the way down the hall, take the stairs down, and then exit out the rear entrance? It was a simple evasion technique, and they had discussed it last week when they arrived, and again this morning. She wasn't sure if she was being followed, but Turner wouldn't be far behind. He would join her in the building, and they would go from there. The one thing she could not do was turn around. Apartment plan, a voice said next to her, and before she could turn her head, she saw Turner running past her. 10 yards ahead, she saw him look at his watch, shake his head, and then swear loudly in German. He continued to run, past the apartment complex, past another store, and across the next intersection. Now she knew something was wrong. 20 yards until the entrance of the apartment complex. She maintained discipline, never speeding up or looking around, and her hiking boots continued to crunch through the freshly fallen snow. 10 yards. She put her hand inside her coat pocket and fingered her own 9mm with silencer attached. She hadn't fired a gun since the range, right before she left the United States for the mission. She had never fired at a human being before. She reached the double-glass doors and entered the apartment building. Then she picked up her pace and strode toward the elevator. The doors were just about to close. She slid her hand between the doors and they opened. An elderly German couple frowned. She apologized. The doors closed, and she saw the 11th floor's button was lit. The elevator started to climb. She pushed the button for floor 3.